Perfect. No error messages. Welcome to SF Live. Welcome to a breaking news special. We are on the road. We're on a mobile studio here. And apologies for maybe some background noise here. But we're in London. We're in London for LME week. And we just had to catch up with our good friend Doug Cavey here. That's why I brought him on. I set up here at a coffee shop in London just to get this conversation on the record. And really looking forward to this conversation with Doug. He's the VP Corporate Development over at Defiance Silver. And if you clicked on this video, just because I called the video Silver, analysts expect 10x return. That is because Red Cloud, one of the brokers out of Toronto, put a $1.40 price target on this stock, and the Defiance Silver traded down to 13.5 cents yesterday. So it's even over a 10x return. If they're right, of course, analyst targets, you got to put a word of caution in there. But the company has potential, and that's why we're talking to Doug here. The company also put out 2 press releases this week, drill results from the San Acacio project down in Mexico, and they gave an update on the Tepal situation, and Doug's going to brief us on that. Doug, why don't we start with that? Welcome on the program. It's good to see you. And tell us about Tepal, what's new there.
Okay, so I guess it's the most recent news, and happy to be on the show to talk about it. I mean, we're still not exactly a lot that we can say right now. We did file our case that we initiated against this fraudulent transfer of our mineral concessions in the Tepal project, and that has been submitted and accepted, and it will admitted for trial with the district court in Michoacan. And then we're going to do an evidence hearing where we present, the cases and the statements that we have put together in, on our side about how we, have a very strong case. I actually believe this was absolutely a fraudulent, illegal transfer, and just presenting that to the court, and that's going to go on. We also put a stay, or effectively a freeze, on the mineral licenses so that they can't be transferred any further right now, so that they stay right now with the current illegal owner of the licenses. They stay in those hands so that they do protect the asset from any further sort of wrongdoing with them, and that they're basically frozen in the hands of whoever has them right now. So we think that this is actually going to be a very favorable and at least gives us a clear path to where we're going to get to with the licenses, and it does hopefully allow for what we believe an early conclusion of the district court will look at these and see that this was a fraudulent transfer versus having to go through the Supreme Court of Mexico. It could take an unknown amount of time to go through this, and that is in the hands of the court. And once we do have that, timeline, of course, we'll provide an update from there. But we believe that there is a substantial likelihood of a success on the merits of the evidence that we've put together on the case, and as well that the Mexican courts are consistent in declaring that these transfers were illegal for the Tepal licenses as well. So it is very positive in that we do see the path forward. We do see that they have been put to the Mexican court in Michoacan, the district court of Michoacan, and that we'll be moving forward with the evidence hearing. And we do have a strong case of evidence moving forward into the case.
Yeah, fantastic. And Doug, I should have asked you that before we dived into the Tepal discussion. But what are we actually fighting over, and what has been taking away from you illegally? Just give us a summary of the Tepal project and actually why you're fighting for it. Obvious question to you, obvious answer. Yeah, but forest before the trees.
So there's absolutely, yeah. So there's just to sort of set the stage a little bit. We can't talk too much, of course. We are in litigation right now, so we do have evidence that will be submitted to the court. What happened in a 50,000 foot view is that our licenses were illegally and fraudulently transferred to a third party from us to another party. There's a lot to bring forward into the case that supports what is absolutely an illegal and fraudulent transfer. And so for the time being, we are not the owners of these licenses. They have been illegally removed from us, and they're fraudulently transferred to a third party. And then we're going to the courts to have those returned to us in due course.
Fantastic. And there's a resource base already at the projects. Just to put some value on it, how meaningful it is to you guys, or to Defiance, as well.
Well, there's 1.8 million ounces measured indicated gold, 813 million pounds of copper. It puts it in the top tier of development projects in Mexico. So it is a very important project to us, and we do feel that it's going to be a positive outcome, but it does slow us down from what we had believed was going to be a pretty active program at the Tepal project this fall. I'm in fact on my way over to Michoacan right now. This would be when we were going to kick off a drill program. This is an exploration season in Michoacan State, and so we're sad that we're not getting drill holes into it. Maybe it's for the better with this market right now, not really rewarding any good positive results, as we just saw with our San Acacio drill results. But It does slow us down and it does prevent us from doing work on the asset. But we hope that this does come to a conclusion quite soon, because it is a black mark on the value of a mineral title in the company in Mexico. And we do have the support, of course, of the government and the various agencies and in the statements that we're making right now.
No, fantastic. Let's switch gears. I know you're traveling. You're headed to the airport. You just mentioned you're headed to Michoacan. Let's talk about the drill results you put out this week as well for the San Acacio project. You put out 2 holes. Tell us more about them and how meaningful are they?
So we put out 5 holes, I think, from just a quick program that we did over the summer. Again, our scope, we have sort of a 2-pronged, just to sort of paint the picture of what we're doing at San Acacio, in the Zacatecas district. Now, San Acacio is a component of one of the most important vein camps in Mexico, one of the most important vein camps globally. This vein system just on the San Acacio has produced from surface over 200 million ounces of silver. So we have a resource that starts at surface, and we've been systematically stepping down through the resource and then down below that resource to prove that there is a large resource body outcropping at surface and that extends to depth. And we continuously do that, and we continuously drill higher grades. We continuously drill higher or more polymetallic systems, wider widths, and we just did that again, about 50, maybe 75 meters below our last good results. So our last results were 2137. That was 3 meters of 700 grams per ton silver equivalent. And then there was about 1,100 grams per ton silver equivalent as well. And we were using the polymetallic numbers because it is very much a polymetallic system. There's gold, there's copper, there's lead, there's zinc. But we drilled the most recent hole that we just put out, 2252. That was quite a good result. That was 10 meters of 330 grams silver equivalent, but that had some very high-grade lead silver in there, some high-grade gold. And nestled in that was actually some really good numbers, and up to 4 grams gold, about 20% combined lead zinc, and I think about 800 grams per ton silver. So we're showing that the system is very strong at depth. It starts at surface and it extends to depth. And so it's very unique in that we're not having to try and chase a body of mineralization that's super deep. There's underground workings all around there. We've been, extending a program of testing old stopes. And then, of course, figuring out why are these systems occurring where they are. So why are these chutes occurring where they are? And then testing them along strike. And that's also what we put out in this news release. In the past, the company has not had a lot of success drilling to the east or stepping out along strike from the main resource area. There was just sort of a poor understanding of where the geology kind of came together and why the veins were where they are. And so there was all these historic workings around. And so we just kind of went back to the drawing board. Let's start shallow. Let's test what we know. We put a couple holes outside the resource estimate to the east, hit the structure, hit above our cutoff grade of silver, of pure silver grade. And that shows that the system does extend, again, stepping out to the east outside the resource estimate. And that's really nice for us because in our 3D modeling and in our kind of mine modeling of the camp, we found that there's some deep, previously unknown workings below these veins at surface. So again, we're faced with this very opportunistic situation where we have an outcropping vein system where we, in the resource area, we have resources starting from surface. And then as we step out of the resource area, we have this outcropping vein system that we've hit grade at in our most recent release. And then we know, and we've just found these deeper underground workings below that. So of course, follow-up is going to be test below those underground workings. We know that the system runs deep. We know that the system has very high grades at depth. And if this is true, as the system does kind of plunge towards that direction, we think that there's a lot of opportunity in the eastern half to test below that. And so that's kind of our main resource build-out program, that 2-pronged approach we have in the district outside of the district exploration.
Okay. Now, I get 2 follow-up questions to that, actually, Doug, real quick. How deep is deep for you when you go on below the existing workings? And then, when can we expect a resource estimate? I know you're short for time. That's why I bundled the questions together.
Yeah, so I mean, I say deep, but everything starts at surface here. Well, I should say in the east, it looks like we've got to get a little bit below the surface, but these holes were pretty shallow and we're hitting above the cutoff grade of our current resource estimate. I'd say it's hard to say what the depth is, for where we're going to put some of our holes. It's really going to depend on the modeling. I don't want to make an estimate right now, but let's call it in that sort of 200 to 300 meter range, again, drilling below, drilling around current existing historical workings, like kind of leveraging that infrastructure that's in place. And some of the stuff was mined up until the 70s and 80s. So it's not like we're looking at infrastructure that was put in 200 or 300 years ago. It's pretty modern stuff. And so, and then again, these things are intermediate sulfidation systems, so they do have a lot more of a vertical profile than, say, your low sulfidation or high sulfidation gold system. So that would say anywhere from that 250 to maybe up to 500 meters depth that we're going to test in this next program in the eastern part of the district. And right now we're about here, I've got a map in front of me here. We're about 300 meters below surface with this most recent drill hole that we just put out, 2252. So we're going to eventually have to cut off our drilling to do the updated resource estimates. So that's your second question. We're eventually going to have to stop or make a cutoff point where we don't include any additional drilling into the resource estimate. And so we have actually begun modeling this internally. We have begun looking at some third-party contractors and putting it out to tender on who we're going to work with to do this, first in-house resource estimate and then bring it to a 43101 compliant resource estimate. But we do need to make a call internally. And of course, with the most recent results that we've just seen, that we just put out, we're clearly in the system. And what we've always said is we want to test the limits of the system, and then we can backfill on the resource estimate. So until we've really seen that, clear marker, I think we're going to still keep drilling out the system so that we can include, very potential tonnage increase to the resource estimate. We are looking at doing the resource estimate in the next 12 months. And so we will look to, cut off the drill or cut off the data input into that resource estimate sometime in the new year as well.
Oh, fantastic. Last question, Doug. Catalysts, when can we expect the next set of results? I've seen a couple holes in the map that are still pending.
Yeah, so we have a couple holes still pending. We're just doing some check assays on those. We have another drill firing up a couple days from now. We have some more, of course, other sort of strategic stuff going on. And so there is going to be pretty steady news flow. Again, we had just news out today. We had news out the other day. Hopefully we'll have another update on Tepal to put out, meaningful update on Tepal to put out. That's, fingers crossed, no promises on what the timeline is. And then we're just going to keep drilling out the main system here. So keep looking out for, increased, promising, and very good results of the Veta Grande district and in the main sort of Zacatecas district. Once we start drilling here in Veta Grande, we'll kind of leapfrog back and forth, follow up on those spectacular Lucita results that we had earlier this year, and then look to put out some news flow on project advancements, more strategic stuff that will look to, as you say, build out on that resource estimate, build out on some of the logistics of the project, and that's kind of our next 6 to 12 month scope.
Well, that'll definitely keep you busy, that's for sure. Doug, thanks so much for joining us. Great update. I'm a bit puzzled by the price action in the stock. Just sitting there shaking my head because you guys got a ton of cash. You got great news flow coming up. So definitely, I'm siding with Red Cloud here. The upside potential is enormous. Obviously, shareholder and option holder in the company as well. So hugely biased. Of course, I want the company to do well. And we'll have Doug on way more often talking about results and maybe get an update on what is happening in Tepal. Doug, thanks so much for joining us, and safe travels. Fantastic. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, Ty, and anybody that needs to get in touch.
Absolutely. Nope, breaking news special here at SF Live. We're on the road. Leave a like, leave a comment. Happy to hear from you, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much.